The victim in a deadly hit-and-run crash in Maine over the weekend has a bizarre connection to central New York.
He was involved in a different hit-and-run crash that happened here 50 years ago. But in that case, he was the driver.
Oh my God. Get off the field!
This is the video of the terror on the Little League field Friday evening. Cell phone video showing a swerved car speeding into a ball field in southern Maine, the town of Sanford, swinging erratically around the bases before then hitting and killing a man.
Tonight, 51-year-old Carol Sharrow is charged with manslaughter. You can see she appeared in court in Maine this afternoon. Tonight, she's being held on $500,000 bail.
Now, the victim is 68-year-old Douglas Parkhurst. He was with his grandchild when he was struck. Parkhurst died at the hospital.
Now, years after the crash, Parkhurst admitted he was responsible for the 1968 hit and run himself that killed 4-year-old Carol Lee Ashby in Fulton on Halloween night. The crime went unsolved for 44 years. Our Justin Page live in Fulton tonight. Justin?
Matt and Megan, it was 50 years ago that 4-year-old Carol Lee Ashby was crossing the road with her sister here, what is now the intersection of 481 and Division Street in Fulton. It wasn't until 2013 that the driver of the car that killed Ashby, Douglas Parkhurst, came forward. Now, in an ironic twist of fate, he was killed when that woman drove her car through a Little League field in Maine. This was the Buick Special Douglas Parkhurst drove on Halloween in 1968 when he hit and killed Carol Lee Ashby. At the time, Fulton police questioned Parkhurst, who told them he had hit a guardrail. The case remained open for decades until 1999 when Russ Johnson, a retired lieutenant in the department, reopened it.
I went down to the vault and pulled the case out, and sure enough, it was obviously still unsolved, and we decided to try to reopen it to generate new leads and new information.
12 more years passed before they got the tip they were looking for from a woman in Florida.
The Parkhurst family, according to her, asked her to be an alibi in the event that the police came knocking on Mr. Parkhurst's door back in 1968.
In March of 2013, Fulton police approached Parkhurst, who was still living in Oswego County.
He didn't want to give it up. He only gave it up and admitted to what had happened once the district attorney's office provided him with a written letter and said that there would be no prosecution.
After making his confession, Parkhurst moved to Maine, where on Friday he died at the hands of a reckless driver.
It was mind-blowing. When you look at the fact pattern almost 50 years ago and you look at what happened to him, it's very close.
Through working the case, Johnson developed relationships with Carol Lee's family and spoke with them over the weekend.
In talking with Darlene, the sister, recently, I think that they feel that there's some sense of justice, so to speak.
Witnesses to Parkhurst's death say he pushed children out of the way, possibly saving their lives. But Johnson says a heroic effort doesn't erase his deadly act.
If indeed that's true, his family has something to hold on to now. But it doesn't take away from what happened 50 years ago in that he struck and killed a little girl who was just walking across the street with an ice cream cone and her sister.
Now, I spoke with the son of that sister earlier today. He says that his mother is just completely overwhelmed right now. She just lost her husband 2 weeks ago, and now, of course, her sister's death is once again making headlines. It's a painful past colliding with a painful present for her. For now, reporting live in Fulton, I'm Justin Page.
Such unusual circumstances.
Yeah, headlines across the country tonight, in fact, Justin.